All right, we are live. Sorry about the brief delay. I'm having some internet problems, so I'm going over my phone's mobile hotspot, so it might not be a little bit choppy. So sorry about that, but it's better than nothing. So, all right, well, let's get rolling. There's no reason to delay. Hi, everybody. I hope you're having a spooky October so far. We do have some new people watching, so I just wanted to say hello and welcome. I'm Chuck. Um, so on to the routine stuff that I mention every week. I do have the Q&A portion turned on. It's going to appear on the right-hand side. Let me just double check and make sure I have it on. You can ask questions by typing them in. It'll come in, I'll see them, and I'll be able to answer them at the end. Um, if by chance, there's a delay when you type them in before I see them, so if by chance yours doesn't get answered, I'll save it for the next Hangout. Or if you'd really like me to answer it tonight, soon, just let me know and I'll answer it outside of the Hangout format. Let's see. So, and one other quick thing is that I am starting my first week of Couch to 5K. If anyone would like to join me, just let me know. I think this is a great opportunity to have a bunch of people kind of doing it as a group and sharing their experience and everything. If you don't know about me, I have an inner fat kid still, and I hate running. I always have, never been good at it. But generally, the things you're the worst at are the things that you should probably work on after you've kind of gotten to a place where you are looking for another challenge. So I've always hated running. A couple people that I'm working with are doing the Couch to 5K program, so I figured, you know what, it's probably time for me to do it, just to show that I can do it, even though I'm not a fan of running whatsoever. But who knows what will happen? I might actually end up being a fan at the end if I, can progress through it, which I don't think I'll have any problem with. So, on to the questions and topics that I want to cover. So let's get to that. All right, so our first question comes from Danny, and Danny asks, when is it best to take rest days? Since my workouts are split between 4, 5, and 6 day weeks, I tend to get less rest as the program progresses through those weeks. Should I give myself a rest day every other day as a standard, or should I just feel it out with my body and take a rest day when I feel it's necessary? Thank you for the question, Danny. This is a good one. Rest days are kind of something where people have really strong opinions about on both directions. So the best time to take rest days in general is going to depend on what muscle groups or what muscles are being worked in a particular workout and in what amount, like what number of sets, number of reps, the volume, that type of stuff. So for example, if your workout is a leg-centered workout one day, there's usually not a problem working out again the next day if you're hitting something in the upper body. Different muscle groups and sizes have different recovery times. Like for example, your arm muscles are smaller and they can generally recover faster than something like your leg muscles. So that's something to consider too. However, that does assume that you're getting adequate, good quality nutrition and good quality and quantity of sleep. One thing is, a lot of times when people start to eat make more healthful choices with their nutrition, they neglect fat. And yeah, it's okay to drop your fat a little bit, and that kind of helps you keep your calories lower while still getting a lot of high volume foods. However, I know at my age, I'm 35, if I drop my fat too low, I feel it in my joints. Usually that's the thing that takes longer to recover, are your joints and ligaments compared to your muscles once you get past a certain point. So for me, I don't really get muscle soreness too much anymore. It's just that if I push too hard and too long and I don't get enough fat, my joints hurt, my elbow, my shoulder, that type of thing, they'll just hurt. And it won't be a muscle soreness. It'll just be like the joint itself. So that's something to keep in mind there. But yes, listening to your body is definitely important, especially as you don't want to get injured. I use the term in general in answering you because the human body is pretty good at dealing with anything you throw at it short term, and it will adapt in the short term. You could train every day with no rest days, and you'd be okay to do that for a little bit. I would not recommend doing that as part of your regular plan, though. In your particular case, when you have a workout week that has 6 workouts in 1 week, you'll likely want to include time for extra rest and recovery outside of your normal routine if you're working out that much. And I know that kind of seems like a problem in that you're spending more time working out. Well, guess what? You also need more time relaxing to recover from it. So part of that is going to be ensuring that you're managing the other stresses in your life. And I say other stresses because eating at a calorie deficit, exercise, and building new habits, those are all physical and mental stresses on your body, in addition to the stresses you have from your everyday life, from your relationships, from work, things like that. Those are all stresses, and you have to manage them accordingly. You only have so much that you can give to things going on in your life, and you can't just pile on additional stresses. So while you may really like working out 6 days a week, and you may be doing a program that indicates you should be doing them, you kind of have to choose something that's not going to make you burn out and get injured. So, let's say your sleep is perfect, your nutrition is spot on, you're not stressed, then you may be able to handle 6 days a week with no rest day in there whatsoever, no problem. But that's to say you're having a bad week, your sleep's crappy as a result, you're having cravings, your nutrition's not that great, probably you're kind of going to burn yourself out if you're pushing too hard. So that's kind of where you want to listen to your body and your mind as a whole and kind of see where you are as far as that goes. I think that pretty much covers it. So it's basically a hybrid answer between yes, listen to your body, but you also kind of have to have a conscious understanding of what you're facing, and it's what you can handle is really not just related to training and nutrition, but the entire aspect of your life is kind of needs to be balanced. All right, so on to the next subject. Let me check something here. All right. So this is something I wanted to talk about. Is working with people this week, I noticed a common theme kind of popping up, and it's a trend towards an all or nothing mentality. And most people have an all or nothing mentality when they're first getting started. However, these are people that I've worked with for a while, and they seem to have moved away from that, and then something happened where that mentality towards all or nothing is kind of creeping back in. So I'm sure you've heard me mention this before. If not, get used to hearing it because you're going to hear it a lot. The all or nothing mentality is something we want to move away from. Perfect is the enemy of the good. An all or nothing mentality leaves no room for flexibility, and the only way to maintain your weight loss as a lifestyle choice is that flexibility. You can't just be rigid because life is always going to find a way to mess with your rigid plan. Your rigid plan is going to go out the window. Some of you may have already gone through this assignment, some of you will be going through it soon, is that related to social obligations, having lots of things to do that don't fit a rigid diet plan is the norm. So you have to be flexible enough in your plan to be able to deal with them. So on to the specific, the first interaction that kind of sparked this topic is Chase. And Chase was talking about this in his log. And I'm not singling him out because I'm just mentioning his name because his recent post is a perfect example of this. If you're a member of the community, you can go and look at it and see what I'm talking about. But he summarizes how things have been going for him in a pretty cool format. He groups things together in categories of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Chase is a movie buff like me, and so I of course love the nod to the Clint Eastwood movie. I also like the idea of using categories to help with self-reflection. Anytime you have a problem, now it's really hard to be objective about yourself and reflect about why you were feeling a certain way or doing a certain thing or how you did objectively. That's difficult for everyone, me included. It's just human nature that we cannot be objective very well about ourselves. But taking a big problem like that and breaking it down into smaller problems is really how problem solving is done. So Chase is taking a very creative approach to the big problem of self-reflection and breaking it down into categories. Love the idea. And even though I'm mentioning in the context of something to be aware of, I wouldn't ask Chase to stop doing that because I think it's a great idea. And he came up with that on his own, so kudos to that for that. But I am bringing it up because I want to point out there's a danger here. So in Chase's case, he said that he relaxed a little bit on his diet. He was battling a cold, and he was slacking on his exercise. In addition, he blew his calorie goal for quite a few days. He didn't prepare his food at home, and he ate out most of his meals. Despite all of that, he still made progress, so much so that he hit a new low in his weight. And when he did exercise, he hit a major personal record on one of his weightlifting lifts. So that's amazing. So the number of items that Chase grouped in the bad and the ugly were greater than the number of items in the good category. If you were just kind of reading through that, you might say, that's a lot of bad and ugly things going on there. What happened? When the net result is those are all positives. Like everything that happened is good in spite of what happened. So let me see. Yeah, so simply put, this is a case where what Chase did was good enough. Doing good enough is important because you don't need to give it everything you have every single day. That's not sustainable in the long term, and fitness should not feel like you're trying to ice skate uphill every single day. It shouldn't be a struggle every single day. Everyone must seek their path of least resistance. Bruce Lee once said, the less effort, the faster and more powerful you will be. So you can't just continuously be fighting in a direction. If you're fighting and struggling in one direction, you're probably going in the wrong direction. Every single person is going to have a different path of least resistance. And what I'm trying to help you with is finding a framework that lets you still set goals in general, still follow some basic principles, but kind of with my help, if you need it, go in a direction that is a path of least resistance for you. And I know I say that phrase a lot, but it's true. The easier it seems, past a certain point of comfort zone, you might have to just be a little bit outside your comfort zone. There's going to be a point where the discomfort is less than the momentum you're getting progress-wise. Meaning, yes, there's some discomfort, but the benefit you're seeing makes it worthwhile. And it's not so much a struggle that you want to give up every day, and then it's a struggle. So that pretty much covers it from the example that Chase brought up. But I did want to bring up another example that came up in relation to food choices and nutrition alone, not the entire context. So in working with Paul today, Paul mentioned that he was eating chicken for dinner, and that in order to make his protein goal, he ate so much chicken, I think it was like a pound of chicken in one meal, that he couldn't even finish his meal. But then he also said that he tends to gravitate toward options that are simple, like chicken and broccoli, and then eating them exclusively for a while, meaning every meal, chicken and broccoli, chicken and broccoli, chicken and broccoli, chicken and broccoli. Eventually, the end result for Paul is that he gets sick of chicken and broccoli, big surprise, and he goes off diet and eats a burger or goes to the Chinese buffet. So understandably, this is how 99% of people approach fitness, that it's all or nothing. You have to eat chicken or broccoli, or you have to eat a burger and Chinese buffet. My question is, why not both? So eating a burger or going for Chinese are things you can actually fit into a fat loss system. I'm not going to call it a diet because it's not something that you're going to go on, lose weight, and then go off. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. There's no one weird trick that allows you to just lose weight and then magically go back to your old habits. I'm sorry to break the news if you still think that, but the way you lose weight will be the way that you maintain it for the rest of your life. The good news in that there's a silver lining. Once you actually reach a weight that you feel is sustainable, you get to ease off a little bit as far as the calories, and having more calories available to maintain your weight also gives you some more freedom in food choices. So there is a silver lining there. Yes, so back to the concept. So you can fit burgers and Chinese into your framework of nutrition, but you kind of do have to plan for it somewhat. You can't just eat whatever you like and then go for burgers and Chinese and then track your calories afterwards and go, whoops, I was 1,500 calories over today. Maybe I'll do better tomorrow. Let's see where we end up. And then you do the same thing the next day. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. You have to plan for it somewhat. But you don't really need to restrict your food choices all the time, because what that does is you're all in and then you give up and then it's nothing. There's no restriction. There's no portion control. There's no healthful choices. Usually, I'm speaking from experience because I've been there. You go all in. You make only healthful food choices. You make only choices that have lots of vegetables and lean proteins. And then when you don't make those choices, you make the worst bad decision you can possibly make. Instead of going out to dinner and maybe just skipping the fries, you get an appetizer, you get the fries as a side dish, and you get a dessert. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can still go out to dinner and pick something awesome like a burger and still make it work with your plan. So like I said, sometimes that's going to require making modifications to what you order, meaning like get a side salad instead of fries, get your dressing on the side, eat a lighter lunch filled with lots of vegetables and protein during the day. I would challenge you to find a situation where you couldn't make it work. Pretty much any situation you could think of is able to be worked into a fat loss diet within reason. I mean, not if you're a competitive eater and you're going to be eating 15,000 calories in one sitting. I mean, that's probably possible with enough exercise and food modification the remainder of the week, but I don't really think anyone listening to me right now is a competitive eater on the professional level. I know, me included, some of us are professional eaters as amateurs. Competitive eaters as amateurs, sorry. All right, so essentially, even if you drastically overshoot your calories on a single day, you haven't done anything wrong, you haven't done anything bad, you haven't done anything unreconcilable or uncorrectable. You can simply reduce portions from other meals throughout the remainder of the week. And I'm not saying skip dinner one night. And let's say your dinner is like 500, 600 calories. I'm not saying make up for the calories you overshot over the course of one meal. You can actually break it up and shave let's say there's 6 other days in the week that you don't have anything going on. You can shave off 100 calories a day, and there's your 600 calories right there. And shaving off 100 calories is probably pretty easier to bear than it is a gigantic amount of calories from a single day. Although depending on your personality, you might prefer kind of ripping the Band-Aid off and doing it in one day, and that's fine too. So again, since our journeys are not measured in days, but in months, years, and decades, we have to remember how insignificant a single day is in this context. It's consistency that matters the most in the end. Sure, overeating on a single day will likely cause the scale to jump up for numerous reasons, like more carbs, more sodium, salt, more water, being bloated, that type of stuff will cause the scale to shoot up. But like I said, unless you're a competitive eater, you're not going to gain fat in that small of a time period. So it does even out over time if you're consistent with things for the most part. In order to lose fat and keep it off, we have to realign our perception from thinking in the short term to the long term, to the long game. What is our plan going forward? Because if we're only thinking in the short term, we're only thinking about, well, I screwed up today, I don't care about tomorrow. But if you're thinking long term, you could say, it was just a single day. This is just a blip on the radar, and any issue or any overage will be absorbed and essentially made irrelevant in a long enough time scale. And that's really what matters. And that's what leads you to have results that are permanent rather than short term. So one way to look at this and simplify the concept down is that if you have an all or nothing mentality, you have all or nothing results that are short term, meaning if you're on the diet, you have results. If you're off the diet, you lose your results. If you're flexible, then you're going to see results in the long term. It may take you longer to get to that point overall, but you'll be much more comfortable being in that groove of where it's only a little bit beyond your comfort zone, but still, integrated into your daily life. All right. That was a lot of talking. All right, so that actually covers everything that I wanted to cover this weekend. Let me just see if there were any other comments or questions. All right, so I'm not seeing any other questions or comments. I'm really, really, really hoping this video came out okay with going off my phone's, what is it called, hotspot. If not, maybe I could try to record it again with when my internet comes back up. But thank you for watching, and I'll talk to everyone soon. You have a great night. All right, take care.